Pauline.
Hey, I'm Priscilla.
I'm Pal.
And I'm Tammy Ron, and welcome to the P3T podcast.
Woo! You know that other day asked me, where do you guys get your ATM music video? your theme music from? And I was like, I don't know. Ask Tarian, but it's royalty free music. Where do you get it from?
Yes, that's royalty free music.
On
There's
YouTube.
so many sites.
Wow.
On your browser. I remember he called and he was in such a quagmire. He was telling me how he was even DMing.
Sorry, you
Yeah,
such a what?
Quagmire.
I love that.
Anyway, karibuni to another episode of the P3T podcast.
Yeah.
I think once we should, before we just dive into the episode, let's have like a thing.
A segment.
And, like a segue. Okay, not us. Okay,
A
sure,
segment.
like a segment. Whatever. Let's do something before we jump right in. You know, we always jump right into the deep end.
What is that something?
So you relax. See, I'm going to tell you.
Down.
This is chill.
We are unscripted right now.
So, I think to you guys, I'd pose the question. Since the last time we met, what is one thing you have learned about yourself?
Dang it,
But
I was just
you-
going to say that you need that the squiggly line is called an
Ampersand. Na hiyo count.
So I start, Amma.
Yeah, pull it start.
Between, sorry, what's the question? Between,
Now and the last time.
No, in the last time we met.
what's one thing you've learned about yourself?
Yourself.
I've learned, that's a difficult question to answer off the top of your head. Nani akona answer?
Okay, what's one thing you've learned?
Let me still go. Let me think about it.
Wait, can I give a bit of context to that joke? We were trying to figure out the title of this episode, and it's this episode, you'll see what it's going to be called in a few. But we were battling between using "and" or the word "versus." And when we tackled on the word "and," Priscilla was like, so we use the ampersand, and Pauline didn't realize what that was. So that's what the joke is.
She didn't know. Today is when she knows. And for our viewers also, kama leo umejua ni sawa.
There's no shame.
There's no shame. You know that sign you put to mean and? Yeah.
Squiggly one.
The squiggly one that is written in different ways depending on where you're from. Anyway, that's called an ampersand. So now, nani alikuwa anaongea? I got so lost in.
Priscilla said she has an answer.
Yeah.
So,
Priscilla, yes, go ahead.
What I've learned about myself. Well, when was the last time we recorded?
a few months ago.
How do you done career fair?
It was in
No, we hadn't done career fair.
July.
Yeah. I think what I've learned about myself is I'm very much so evolving. Like right now, there were things that Priscilla in January would have thought about and believed in and would accommodate in her life then, but then right now I'm different. Like I don't it's not like I'm not conforming to those ways anymore, but I'm adopting other views that I didn't think I'd adopt. Yeah, like I'm still evolving. I'm still learning a lot about myself, and I think it's been more rampant for me this semester, especially with taking up more leadership roles in my school and putting myself more out there. I think I've gotten to know how much I can take in, how much I can handle, that too, and also like learning certain ideologies that I'm like, okay, that could make sense. That has a ground on its own, a ground on its standing, and I'm like, okay, I could probably be okay with that. So yeah, I'm learning a lot about me, and as maybe it's the point where, you know, the way people say before you're 25 your prefrontal cortex is still developing. You're truly not who you are. Your personality isn't there yet until you're 25, until you're like completely fully formed in the brain, rather biologically speaking. But I think you already can be as mature as now, I guess. Yeah, so yeah, I think that's what I've learned about myself.
Wow.
Merci.
Pal?
I don't know if it's about myself, but let me start it this way. What I've learned is that sometimes your plans don't turn out how you might have imagined them to be. So I was doing like some reflection when I said the other day, it might have been like last month or something, but it was the middle of July. And I was looking at the goals that I had written for myself for the beginning of the semester. Oh, mi napenda tumemaliza masomo aka tumemaliza semester. So
I'm so jealous.
Pole.
So,
Usi ulikuwa na long holiday. Sisi hatukwani na long holiday.
How long is your break?
Hatuna break sasa.
What?
Basically.
Poleni.
It's what, a week? This is a week in a sense.
Hey, yes,
Actually, it's not even a week.
The
The break is starting from Tuesday. Yeah, that's midterm basically. Now I'm feeling for the people who've been going, like just been on it from first year. Because they get their first break after second year.
Oh my gosh.
So we've just been entering one semester after the other for the last 4 semesters.
I will never understand your academic year.
Yeah.
Same.
Not same.
Same.
Unajua tu timetable yako peke yako binafsi. That's what matters. Yeah, so I learned, so in the beginning of the semester, like I wrote out, in high school I used to be more intentional about reading like my goals every so often, but sasa nifika shule, we hit the ground running. Tangu soma Biblia, it takes you forever. You get to other things. There's no time, like God is my priority, so I need to do my Bible study and then I'll move on. So yeah, anyways, I've not been as intentional about reading my goals. So I went through them and I saw this point, like, try and get into new things, because peer counseling is slowing down, and I absolutely like cackled at that because I got a leadership position in the club. So a lot of the things that I wrote down didn't align at all. It was, you have less units, so you can try and do this. You have less units, so you can try and do this. You have and like, sincerely, the time that I would have spent doing my extra unit was spent doing so many other things. Like my calendar, I took a screenshot of my calendar of July and I posted it to my close friends on Instagram.
Yeah.
And like almost every day had like something red on it. I marked like big things that I needed to do with red. So almost every day had something like a red note on it on my calendar. Every day was so busy, and I didn't expect that my month and my semester in general would be so busy, and I'd have so much to do, and I'd have so many responsibilities or new things that I needed to do. But yeah, I'm happy that I did. Even today I was also go for a debate competition, but I wasn't able to, and I was told shout out my debate people. So shout out my debate people, if you listen to this.
Nice. I think the number one thing I've learned, so I've been on break, yeah, so I've been idle. Well, not really. I've had like things to do here and there, but not nearly as busy as I am like during school. So the number one thing I think I've learned about myself is my life really is in my hands. Like, it's up to me. Like, yes, God is here to help us and to guide us, and you know, at the end of the day, but like at the end of the day, the choice is yours, and you can't keep lying to yourself about the future or about the past or like the mistakes you made. You know, like you can't. I have this really, really horrendous habit where I tell myself, so I'll acknowledge that I made the mistake, but I won't acknowledge that it was my fault. Like I'll blame the circumstance, or I'll blame like things around me, and I'll be like, if I was in a different position, I wouldn't have made that same mistake. But I have made the same mistake multiple times. So clearly, the single constant is me. You know, so I think I'm learning that I can't keep lying to myself about the mistakes I've made, and that I need to I need to like figure it out. You know, yeah. So I think that's what I've been learning from the last time we met.
Okay.
Tamit.
I think to finish off this segment, for me, what I've been learning is similar to Priscilla. I think yours was something to do with we are evolving, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And mine was similar, like we're living in an ever-changing society, ever-changing world. And I'm getting to understand that, how do I say this? I'm getting rid of definitives in my vocabulary. So by definitive, I hope that's a word. By definitives, I mean like never, I'll never do this, or I'll always do this, or forever this will be my stance, and always this is what I'll be thinking.
Yeah.
Because just being reflective of life and understanding the realities of it is knowing that things change. Like Paul was saying, when you're talking about how you looked at your goals and you were laughing, I think that's the same thing that happened to me last year. Because last year I wrote down my goals and my plans for the year. Let me tell you, I went back to that list. I had accomplished nothing, but I had accomplished nothing on that list, but I had accomplished so much that year. Yeah. So I was like, okay, so like, if I was to say definitively that this was what I had to accomplish, like, some doors that were opened in that year would never have been opened. Some opportunities I got would never have availed themselves.
That's true.
Yeah, so, yeah. Definitiveness. Yeah. And I'm also finding myself running away from people who are very definitive in their speech, especially, and in their thinking. So they're always like, I'll never do that, and it's not that they've said it once. They continuously say it for one thing. Because I feel like that somewhat reflects who you are as a person. So, yeah. I think now let's get into the meat of things.
Wait. Probably for negative people, I consider myself somewhat negative in some areas.
No,
but
there's a difference between being negative and being definitive.
Oh.
So when you're negative, are you okay? I don't know how to.
Bado unanipenda? Ni sawa.
Bado nakupenda. Definitely.
Yours is realistic. I wouldn't
Being
say it's negative.
It's more
being
being
a
realistic.
Yeah.
No, it's being a pessimist. I'll tell you the truth. Your pal is very pessimistic.
For real?
Yeah.
I think it's being more of a realist.
I think
Pessimistic in the sense of, but I should be fair and say I don't believe in realists. I think usually realists are just either they're on the pessimistic side or they're on the on the opposite.
Optimistic side.
Yeah, but not so the optimism doesn't manifest in everything's going to be okay. The optimism manifests in let's plan this slowly, let's figure out what we're doing.
Yeah,
that's
me.
Okay then
She's
I would
realist.
consider that more realist.
Yeah.
Optimistic.
Because she would gas you up when she sees
okay, yeah.
And like we know those people who smile every day. I smile a good consider. I feel like I laugh more than I smile. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah, but like I did.
But that's who Jamiron is talking about.
Yeah, I'm talking about people who, especially in their speech,
completes. Like it's either or. It's either
not,
like they're very extreme in their
speech. And so like they like using words like never and always. Get
but they are very
like
tunnel vision. They don't see multiple pathways.
They can't see the nuance.
Yeah. Oh. Professor.
Okay, yeah, so now let's get into it. Today we're talking about spirituality. Actually, this is spirituality part 3. And
Go
our
watch part
discussion,
1 and 2 if you haven't.
yeah, those were actually, I was saying to them on my way here, and I was like, wow, we're intelligent girls. Like, wow.
Talk about the
This is so much value. Anyway, so today we're talking about culture and Christianity. Christianity and culture. Where do you draw the line between, like, I don't know, let's say celebrating your culture, or where do you draw the line between embracing your culture and being a Christian? I think why I say this is because Christianity was heavily influenced by, like, the Jewish culture. So where do you know when to embrace Christianity in your decision, and when to embrace your traditions in your decision?
I have a question.
Cultural
in a way.
traditions.
Like, what instance is there where you see there's like a clash between both?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if, you guys know. This year my brother got married. And
I was like, are you talking to us or are you talking to the podcast?
the podcast audience. So, my brother got married in April this year. When people are getting married, you know, there's this rites before the wedding. To Kikuyu, so Rorashio and all those other things. I don't know the names. So I'm Kikuyu by name. So in the Kikuyu tradition, when you go for your Rorashio and all those things, especially your Rorashio, the reason why you pay dowry, it's like, okay, we know the reason why you pay dowry, but it's like the girl's family, they demand certain things, and then all those things are written down in a book, in like a counter book. Then you pay like a deposit, in quotes, like quote unquote, a deposit, and then now each year or every so often you're supposed to come and finish paying the dowry. Like it was a way for families to get to see each other every so often, just to bring them together. So now what it's turned into for some families is that it's turned into like a money hungry thing, where you come and like you lipa your deni. So now afterwards, after you lipa your deni, at the end you slaughter a goat, and then you offer the blood to the ancestors. You pour the blood to the ancestors. So it turns from being cultural to kind of spiritual, because now you're involving blood and you're involving spirits and you're involving all those things that are believed in some cultures. Yeah. So my parents are against that whole process because of where it's headed to, which is appeasing like the ancestors and the spirits, because if you don't, then there'll be a curse brought on your family. So, and that one now contradicts with Christianity. And in our lives, our priority is our faith. So obviously my brother is a man, so when they didn't have any power when they were going there, because it's a girl, it's my sister-in-law's family. That's making those demands. So and then they are very for all of these cultural things. Even all the rights, like my mom was told, you need to bring a rope for tying the sodas or tying what, so that you can carry it, because if it goes on the ground, the ancestors are going to be upset. And mom was like, this is nonsense. And then supposed to bring glass bottles of soda. Where in Kikuyu culture in the past, before the colonizers, did they have glass soda bottles? Where?
Did they even have soda?
Exactly what I'm saying. Where? So he must bring glass soda bottles. So how she brought plastic, because she was like, sister, we're going to travel from Murang'a to Nakuru with glass bottles. And then even around where they live, there's no place to get them like a lot of them, like crates, you know.
Aqua na dipo.
They live like in Ushago, my sister's parents. So, like, it was just going to be hectic. So my mom just like, kama mtakata soda zetu tutarudi tu nazo tuzikunywe. Pesa sisi tumespend your pesa. Si pesa yenu. So guy, sister, I love you and I love your family. So she, anyway, so all those, like, her family was very much for these cultural traditions because they believe in these things, the ancestral nini. So when my family, I didn't go, when my family went for the Rorashio, before you ask, I was going to be of no use. So I saw them later when they came over to our house just for a courtesy visit. So when they went, there's a big like mlipuko, because not only are they big traditionalists, but they're also staunch Catholics. So there's a big like.
That's such an interesting
Yeah, I know. Her dad even like was a seminarian. Yeah.
Wow.
So like
Seminarian as in he
a
works in the...
trained priest, like a student priest. That's what it is. Yeah.
Okay.
Wow. So
Okay.
yeah, I know. So he just didn't go into that field. So so it was a very big contradictory issue because then they were saying, hey bros, after doing all these traditions, you have to get in line, and they have the power because mnataka msichana wetu, so mtafanya chenye tunafanya. So they had like over an hour's worth of an argument. I think it was like 2-3 hours. Just like they enter the house, talk, argue, stalemate. They go out. They come back in. Talk, argue, stalemate again. Leave, come back in. My grandmother shouts, leave, come back in. One of my dad's friends shouts, leave. Like it was so hectic. So what broke the stalemate was, because my parents were saying, my side of the family was saying, like, before we are Kikuyus, we are Christians. And they were saying, we are Christians, but we are also Kikuyus.
So that's part.
Yeah. So that was the problem. I said the family is also Kikuyu. So that was the problem because, like, them, they were hell-bent on the traditional thing because they truly believe that you will be cast if you don't do these things. So what helped them eventually was this pastor on their side that alichelewa. I think he was doing something in church. So akakuja. And then he talked about this famous passage that people like talking about. Jacob. Nani alifanyia kazi for many years. Ilikuwa Jacob. For Rachel and Leah. So they're saying, because Jacob didn't have anything, like any material things, his dowry, in quotes, is like the year that he worked for Rachel, essentially. So then, because now Laban is the one who demanded. So, but now my dad came and said that if you look at Moses, when who's the father of Isaac? Jacob. Yeah. So
no, Isaac is the father of Jacob.
Yeah.
Abraham is the father of Isaac.
What did she say?
The genealogy is Abraham, Isaac, Jacob,
Lord.
Joseph.
LOL.
Please, watoto wa Mungu.
What did she say?
Isaac, Jacob is the father of Isaac.
Yeah, sorry, my mind blanked. Anyway, when Abraham was finding a wife for Isaac, I don't know who was finding it for, but I think it was Abraham, pretty sure.
I think he sent like a servant.
That story.
Yeah.
He sent his servant with gifts. And when the servant came back, he was also sent back with gifts for
Abraham. Sorry.
which showed that it was not, according to their customs and culture, see, Abraham was the founding father of Israel.
Yeah.
So according to the culture that's supposed to be adhered to, it was not like tumekuja kulipia mtoto wako. This is a courtesy thing. Like, I've come to visit you, so here are some gifts.
Yeah.
And then even then, it's a courtesy thing. Like, you've come to visit me, oh my gosh, thank you so much. Here are some gifts.
Yeah.
So this home. So it clearly showed that.
What are you looking at?
Nothing. I heard a sound. So it clearly showed that, like, it had nothing to do with Israel. Israelite culture, Jewish culture. I don't know.
Before Jewish culture didn't exist at that time.
Oh,
because Jews
it's
didn't.
Israelite culture.
But see, okay, the way I understand it is, see, Abraham, they all follow from Abraham. So when it was just Abraham, they were all, what was Abraham? See, Abraham was like Canaanite. See, his father was Canaanite as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there was no Israelite culture.
No, but
it's
Jewish. Didn't their culture stem from him? That's what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
Yeah. So my point is, it clearly showed that it was not like a fundamental pillar in their culture.
In their culture. Okay, I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
So what you're saying.
At the point where my dad brought that out, and it showed that Laban tricked Jacob. He didn't adhere to their customs. That was unlawful according to them. It was unfair. It was unethical, basically. Yes, after that, my family won. And they gave the money that they had and they dipped. They didn't dip. They had like a cordial end to the day. Like they cut cake. I don't know. They fed each other sodas. And they ended the day well. But to reach where it ended, there was a lot of conflict. So my family, if you're listening to this, I've aired that to dirty laundry. Yeah. So yeah, the point of my story is that's where I have found so far in my life where culture really, really, really goes against religion.
Okay.
Christianity. Another place is circumcision, but I don't want to get into that.
What do you mean?
Oh, okay. Like the rights behind circumcision. Like, these days, a lot of boys are being taken to hospital and they're being circumcised there. My cousin, his family is Kalenjin. So, he, and they're like strict also traditionalists. So, he only lives with his mom. His dad like passed away a couple of years ago. So, the mom obviously has full parental control, but the dad's side of the family has a lot of influence and participation in his upbringing because that's what the dad wanted for him. So, when it came time for him to go through that rite of passage, his grandfather wanted him to like go over to where they live and like do all the rites, like be taught some of the chauvinistic things that are taught to boys and as they are becoming men, teach about all those spiritual things. But my aunt said, "Nah, bruh, we're not doing that." Basic energy and and like a lot of those things are connected with spirits and meaning. So my aunt said this, so she took him to the hospital and then they fought about it with the grandfather, but she was like, "It's my child, you can't do anything about it." So so at that point there was a bit of tussle back and forth there. So even that point there's a bit of issue between culture and
faith.
Christianity, faith.
I think another point of separation or distinction, I'd say, more than contention, is relations with the dead. In the Bible, we're told, don't leave the dead alone, leave the dead to be dead. But in our culture, we are told to appease the dead and to celebrate the poor libation, make them happy. Sometimes in some cultures we actually consult the dead.
Yeah.
So that's I think another point where like the distinction is sort of drawn between.
Yeah. Like the years were so short.
Yeah.
Okay. I have a kind of question per se. Do you think life would have been different per se if Christianity hadn't come to like Africa in itself? Like if we hadn't, okay, obviously it would be different.
Colonized.
Yeah, not even, if we hadn't colonized, is it the Portuguese who came with Christianity, If the Portuguese hadn't come, how do you think life would have been?
Okay, so yes, 100% life would have been different if we hadn't been colonized. But I think Christianity would have come to Africa regardless. Because the thing that would have happened is we would have probably focused more on the Eastern version of Christianity more than the Western version of Christianity. So when Eastern version is like Coptic Christians, Ethiopian Christians, Syrian Christians. That's probably the version of Christianity that would have spread in Africa, because that's the version that was not brought with colonization. That's the version that existed pre-colonization. So it would have spread, maybe not as widespread, but it would have spread regardless of colonization or not. And I think ultimately the thing, okay, so I have a theory. I could be wrong. Historians, theologians, all you professional people, don't come for me. It's just, this is what I think. I think people usually convert to the religion in which people are happy. So currently, if you're looking at, compare, say, like the American polarized, politicized version of Christianity we all know, compare that to like the whitewashed version of Buddhism that they know, which is just like, finding enlightenment and meditation and yoga. So people see these people that are like enlightened and like calm and meditating, and they're like, those people look happy. They don't look like these ones who are yelling at the government every 4 or 5 minutes. I want to be like those people. That is the way I think. Except when it happens by force, because like historically also conversions have happened by force, where people are like told you convert or you die, So except during that situations, I think if it's happening amicably, it's happening because the people are seeing people in that religion are happy. So when you look at it, if you look at the way women are treated in African traditional, especially young women. Older women have a lot of respect in African traditional societies, but young women not so much, So when you look at the contrast between the way young women are treated there and the way young women would have been treated in Christianity, I feel like a lot of young women would have been like, why am I here? Struggling, being treated like a second-class citizen, and I can go there where people are saying we are all equal, So I think that's kind of how it would have happened. So I don't think it would have been as widespread, but I think it would have happened.
Makes sense. What was the question I had asked before? Because I wanted to answer it also after hearing your side.
The where
culture
and Christianity clash.
I feel like something about culture that we need to understand is that culture it should be something that's evolving. And we need to do away with certain concepts that do not serve us in this time, day, and age, in my opinion. I feel like, okay, there's this concept I was discussing about rurashio, because I'm also Kikuyu, about like paying bride price and all. And I had this, I don't know if I mentioned it in this podcast or I had mentioned it to you guys separately.
Oh, sorry.
Excuse me. It's okay. There's one time I sat my show down and my mom down and I was like, you guys, I feel like the concept of dowry is outdated. And funny enough, my mom concurred with me and so did my shosh. I feel like in today's society, people... Okay, there's some twisted people that think dowry is like buying someone, which is so archaic in my opinion. If you're giving dowry to appreciate the family for raising this splendid woman, I think that's okay. But in my opinion, if you're appreciating the daughter, can't you appreciate the son too? Can't you appreciate the family that has raised this handsome gentleman?
Especially in the society when
we're chopping for equality. I'm sorry.
No, not a chopping for equality. When we have a lot of infidelity among one gender.
Okay, I think both genders also have their fair share.
Okay, or you can tell me wrong. Especially when we have a lot of infidelity among the genders.
Yeah, like I think personally, in my opinion, again, if it were me, if let's say my husband my soon-to-be husband wants to appreciate my family, well, I'd also want to appreciate his family. Because I don't see the point where it's just one-sided. And then in a way... sorry.
Finish.
And then in a way, it leaves room... Okay, there's some men who have this antiquated way of thinking where they think, oh, sinili kulipia.
So now I can treat you however I want. You're basically
want.
mine.
Got you.
Exactly.
My property.
You're my property. And now even the worst, I've met women. Unfortunately or fortunately, my mom's friends are also my friends. So we have these two mama conversations.
Yeah.
Literally, there's some now men, okay, I'm not talking about all men, but there's some men who like they pay the dowry and then they continue helping the woman's family. So like wanamjengea pahali, wanaanza biashara, kiosk or whatever.
Yeah.
And then let's say he starts treating you like trash, you go back to your home. You think your mother is going to accommodate you back home. She's gonna say, "Hapana, si unatusaidia. We rudi. Mwanamke ni kuvumilia." That I hate that statement. I hate it. So this woman, she gets beaten up to the pulp, then she recovers at home, she goes back.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
It's even like worse when you think about the way it's like the origin of it, because the origin of it is not as romantic as it is these days. Because you know Kitambo, well, not for all communities, but I know in some communities they would just take you away. Like there was no romance. You would just be kidnapped, and then your parents would come and be paid, and they'd be told, now that girl is ours. And so I'm just thinking, my God. And you know, in that culture or in that space, you know, these days, like my sister is also married. Like her, she comes over like maybe every other week. Like I see her frequently. You know, like she's not gone.
Yeah.
She's still very much a part of our family. But in those days, you wouldn't see your daughter for like 5 years. Your daughter comes back home, she has 3 children.
Yeah.
Like it's scary when you think about how it started.
Yeah.
And I also feel like it's quite outdated. And the thing is, the people who hold on to it, I think I know where they're coming from, because these are people. It's because it's that age group for our grandparents, India.
Yeah.
Like maybe our grandparents and then maybe some of our parents.
But even
the
our
first
generation,
borns.
you'd be shocked. Like, I wish Karen was there, but some of our classmates are very like
ladies or men?
Men, and even some
Even
ladies.
ladies.
Even men, I know ladies who want dowry to be paid for them.
That logic. Okay, I know people argue that dowry is paid towards the woman because in the institution, of course you appreciate it.
But also, I know where you're going.
Yeah, in the institution of the marriage and in the context of the home, the value that she brings
To the family.
to the home is arguably more
Than the man.
than the man. So that's why dowry is given to the parents of the girl, because this girl is adding value to the home, to this man's home.
And it's taking away value from the parents' home.
So like
That
now,
makes sense.
you know how you've had the statement, like, okay, it's not, okay, there's a statement, a woman makes a house a home.
Yeah.
And then there's also, like, it's also, I'd say it's a fact, because
it's
you'd
true.
walk into a house and you know if a woman is in this house.
If the man has a girlfriend or not, and then you can tell.
You can tell, that's true.
There's
You can
another
tell.
thing I saw, another point of view I saw where it was, in those days, a lot of times, men would leave home. Like they would just leave and like live by themselves, but a lot of women would stay home with their parents until they got married. So the man is not, the man's family is not feeling any loss by him getting married, because he's been out, you know, like he's been, we see him once a year, you know. But the woman who has been at home, has been helping at home, has been like, if you guys are having business, which was true for most families, like most families at the time had familial businesses, you know. So she's probably the one maybe doing the books or doing the farming or doing whatever. Like she's doing labor in the house.
Yeah.
So she's leaving a gap in the house
between.
that the man is not living in his house.
But I feel like in today's society
It
where
doesn't,
women,
it doesn't
hold-
compute.
Yeah.
In today's society where nobody can afford to leave their house until they are
Exactly.
30.
Yeah, like both of you are going to be the one unashikilia, like you're holding that the financial stability in that home.
Exactly. Now you've
Yeah.
added more responsibility on the woman.
That's Cameron's argument.
I'm saying that aside
I
from
get
you making
money,
your house a home, aside from you making the home, you're also contributing
financially.
So how about you pay me the dowry?
Yeah, you can pay the girl. Exactly.
Because the only thing that I've had that aligns, maybe not say aligns, that
Makes a little bit of sense.
I don't want to say that. Okay, let me say aligns with that line of thinking is when now women say, and I think this is practiced in Islam, but somebody can correct me if I'm wrong. The money that the woman makes is her money. And the money that the man makes is the family, is the family's money.
Yeah.
So that to me
it's
is in quotes like a way of compensation.
But I understand.
I don't necessarily agree with it, but that's what I've had that I think Sasa
follows.
Makes sense in that line of thinking.
The thought process follows. I was going to say, isn't it like similar in Christianity when they say the man is the head of the household? Like his job is to provide. Obviously, not always will he be able to provide. I'm not out here advocating for you to divorce your husband because he can't go to work. That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But like the people, especially the people who like hold to those like super traditional familial roles, like that's they hold the same principle. The man's money is out, the household money, my money is my money. But like low key, I think it's impractical because me as a woman, so now my husband has lost his job. His money is our money. I have not lost my job. I'm making money. Atakula.
Exactly.
True, his money is our money and my money is my money. No, obviously.
Which point are we making with all this?
Yeah, even I lost it. I lost the plot.
Talk about dowry and then it led you into a rabbit hole.
Yeah, but I have a question. Now with this concept of like the point Tamiron brought in of like the woman losing, not losing, but kind of losing a considerable amount of.
It's not that
She's losing.
She's adding value.
Yeah, she's adding more value, and she
home.
has more even responsibilities to take up when she gets married and all. Does it? Okay. For example, my thought process is quite disoriented at the moment.
It's okay.
You see, like the woman, what does the woman bring to the table? I know we hear that question. What does she bring to the table? I know.
If anybody asks me that question,
I know.
especially if they want children, they should shut up.
They should shut up.
They just shut up because I'm bringing my entire being to the table.
Yes. Number one, she brings in kids, definitely. Number two, she makes the house a home. Number three, if we are to look at it in the traditional-ish concept, she's the one who's gonna be cooking those meals most of the time.
Cleaning.
Actually, even in a modern context,
Yeah.
Most of the time.
Most of the time, it will
That's
be
a
her.
it will be your responsibility to oversee. You won't necessarily be involved in the day.
Oh yes, the overseeing you
but
definitely oversee.
planning of food especially.
I had an interesting analogy. Someone said it as the man is the head of the family, but the woman is the head of the home. She's the one who decides what we are eating, what we are cooking, where things sit, who is sleeping where.
How often the house is clean.
Wow, that's
exhausting.
Yeah.
But I think, sorry Priscilla, we keep cutting you off.
Okay.
But I think to a certain extent, it only exists like that when you have children. Because before you have children, assuming you've not married a prepubescent boy, assuming you've married a man, like, okay, I'm just speaking from like the way I used to see my sister's relationship. She only very heavily took on that role, like especially like with the organizing things when she had a kid. Before she had a kid, yes, she was the one like organizing everything, but the load was not exhausting because like her husband cooks when like she's tired, or like if she's the one who's been at work, because they both work, because economy can't afford to only have one person working. You know, like, so if they both work, her husband is the one who, like, if she's at work, her husband will come and like cook dinner. She's not who say what is being cooked, but he'll do the cooking. Sometimes, not always.
She's the one saying.
Yeah. I'm agreeing.
Okay,
She's still.
sorry.
I'm agreeing with all of you, but I'm saying, like, especially when you have children, the load becomes heavier. The load becomes way heavier.
It's okay, you've answered my question.
Sorry.
It's okay.
What was the question
The
though?
question is like, in a way, would you settle for a man who doesn't help you, like, equalize-ish the load in a way?
Let me answer that question. I wouldn't, especially in our day and age. I have one of my brother's friends, let me say that. One of my brother's friends, he is a pastor. And the other day he was preaching like online. And he was talking about the way in their house, he does the cooking. Because his wife works for, it's like big something companies. So she works for one of these companies, and they overwork you like nonsense.
Like Magical Kenya or something.
Yeah.
Big five.
Yeah, like Deloitte, like Price Waterhouse, such things.
I was thinking
PwC.
tourism.
It's a big five animals.
Like rhinos.
So anyway, so one of these like big corporations that work you like a dog. So she was doing something like, I don't know, like something mathy, like what you're doing for live.
Economics.
Like, I don't know if it's economics, but something mathy.
Statistics. I know those are the people who generally get jobs in this, because I don't want to think about
I
it.
don't really remember what she did, but she did something like money-minded-ish, mathy, something. Yeah.
Accounting, sorry.
I don't
know. Sorry.
So that's how she got into all this, because it was a really like mass hire uni student when they graduate. So she, because, and then like this guy, he's a pastor, and as a pastor your jobs are a bit flexible, because you do like visitations, nini. So ukimaliza kuvisit mtu, so unaenda tu nyumbani, mbona unaenda unafanya nini kwa office? And then a lot of their work is like digitized, like automated. So like you can send over like emails to say, this is my report, this is what I've done. Because it's just mainly reporting. I don't know. Pastors can correct me. But a lot of like the paperwork that they do is just reporting according to what I see. So he would get home earlier than her, because him is not being worked like a dog. At least his organization is a bit friendly. So he was like, so me when I get home, I cook. And she doesn't even have to think about it. Like anakuja home, anapata amepika, so anafika, just sasa atafika home 7, manake amefika 5, mbona yake his fitter. So she doesn't, so for her she doesn't even think about the cooking. She just comes and she finds that he's cooked. So he's right now in their current marriage situation, they don't have kids. In their current marriage situation, he takes care of a significant amount of the domestic duties. And the other thing is that she hates cooking. All her she knows how to cook because her family forced her. Because otherwise she wouldn't have been able to eat in campus. But now that but her husband like does a lot, even like chapels, she doesn't cook chapels, he cooks. So that's my thing.
I think just to add to that, the one thing I've learned in my time observing people's relationships is, at the end of the day, you do what works for the family.
Exactly.
That's what I don't care if I'm going to be doing most of the household. If that's what works for our family at that time, or even for like however time, I will do it. Because at the end of the day, my investment is in this family thriving. My investment is not in you thriving, or in me thriving, or in... First, frankly, when we have children, my investment is in our children thriving, as yours should be as well. So if you are a man who your investment is in you thriving by yourself, no.
Didn't even get married.
By yourself, don't get married, please. Stay in your mother's house.
And love is what?
Selfless.
Selfless.
Love is selfless.
Assuming you're marrying for love.
So to answer your question, would I agree to marry a guy who's not doing 50-50. Okay,
Not
not
50-50,
50-50, but not balancing the housework.
Yeah.
I don't think so, because I think it's a certain level of selfishness that gets you to enter the house at 5 p.m., put your feet up, and wait for your wife to come home at 8 p.m. to come and cook for you. It's a certain, unless I've told you I'm coming at 8 p.m. to cook potatoes and chicken, and I know you don't know how to cook potatoes and chicken, so leave it. I'll come and
But
cook
why don't
it.
you know how to cook potatoes and chicken with YouTube?
Yeah, me says could blame. Maybe it's because of the way I want it. Me, I know I can't blame someone. Like me, I know I will tell someone don't do the laundry because I want it folded a certain way.
Okay.
So like says blame. So like such if when I want specifications, I don't mind doing it. But just out of like my you expect me, I feel like there's an emptiness to you have no love for me.
Yeah.
I feel like you have no love for me.
Actually,
Unipendi.
you know the way the Bible says you become one. I feel like those kind of people who think that, who are very selfish in that regard, they don't, it hasn't like clicked in their head that you're actually one with this person. You actually have to put, not sometimes, but like at least have a level of putting this person first than yourself. What was I saying? About the wife being a glorified maid. Yeah, actually, I feel like the problem for these men is how they saw their mothers be treated
By their fathers.
Because in a way, subconsciously, in my opinion, I think they kind of look for, the only representation they have of a wife is how my mom was with my dad. So when they saw their mother slaving away or being used to that degree of like being a maid to that extent, now they come looking for a wife who can slave away just like their mother did.
They believe it's embedded in a woman's DNA.
Yeah, they think being a wife, actually they kind of look at their mom as like a blueprint of
who a wife should be.
So I think in a way it also boils down to their upbringing.
To answer your question, it's related to what you said. Me, based on my upbringing, I saw my father heavily involved in, okay, not heavily, but considerably involved in the household. Of course, my mom was in charge of it, but my dad didn't mind stepping in if needed, if need be, or if need arise. So I think in the same way I'd prefer help, but I think I'd understand someone who'd say like, okay, in the condition, as long as I provide and protect, and like I understand the opposite. Like you get like the man not helping. But in a lot of those in some of those like I see it happening if the man decides that okay fine, I'll be the sole provider and I'll protect you guys, and then you be in charge of the home. So you, whatever you do, just make sure
Everything is at par in the house.
Running. So whatever systems you need to put in place, put them. As long as I come home and I find food, you get. So I get how that could happen.
Yeah. I think if that's the route you want to go, then provide it. Provide. Like not bare minimum. Provide a proper one to the point where I can wake up. You know, like I can be a stay-at-home mother and not stress.
Yes.
Not stress about food, not stress about rent, not stress about, what we're doing. But then the other thing is, I've seen the reverse as well in Western countries where the guy they're doing 50-50, but the guy is doing a lot of the housework because the girl is like, we have to do 50-50. So what happens is, the guy is making more. It's a specific scenario. So where the guy was making more, the lady was working from home, and then so the guy was handling most expenses. I think the only thing she was paying for was like Netflix. Yeah.
Oh.
So the guy was handling most expenses, and then they had kids. So she was a work from home mom and a stay at home mom. Like, I guess, yeah, together. So now the effect of that was the guy would leave for work at like 6 a.m., come back at like 7 p.m., and she would not do anything in the household. Like, she would just spend her entire day playing with the children, yeah? Then when he comes back at 7, she gives off the kids, and she goes to bed, and he does child duty, cooking, cleaning. So the house was always, so he was basically doing everything.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So like it was very much the reverse of what we are used to huku in the non-West. So I think also that is a problem. We're not advocating for that either.
Yeah.
We are saying everyone should just let the family thrive. Let's work together that the family will thrive.
I agree with you, but notice how when a mother, when the role is reversed like this in the scenario you're saying, the woman is painted as a bad mother.
Yes.
But when the way it is right now in the status quo, he's just a dad.
It's just
Unfortunately. Very unfortunately.
well.
Yeah.
You're a mother now. You're a wife.
So it's
yeah.
when the dad is doing all of these things, he's just a dad. When the mom is doing all of these things,
She's
a bad mom.
Yeah.
I think we should also just start calling them bad dads. What's the
We should.
problem?
We should.
They are bad dads.
Yeah.
If your child is seeing you once a week just because you are a bad father.
You're a deadbeat.
Oh, yeah.
Crazy. This discussion has really
Spirals.
I can't even remember the original prompt.
Okay. So now, I guess now to the last prompt-ish. Let's just say the last prompt would be a lot of our Christian beliefs. I don't know that. Okay, let me just say a lot of our Christian beliefs are influenced by the Jewish culture. So, like, I've heard a lot of people be like, yeah, but that was like the Jewish culture, so it's like not relevant to me. You get? So, like,
Example?
Good question.
Let me say, like, these things in Leviticus of not shaving your head and
Tattooing.
the best example is the tattoo and piercing.
Okay.
Yes, actually, that is the best example. So, those were instructions that the Jews were given.
They were given by God.
They were given by God.
It's okay.
Like my question would be, where do you draw the line between what to follow and what not to follow in relation to the Jewish culture?
I think, yes, Pauline.
They got me really. Come on, man. Pauline, you're this kind of answers.
Very much yes. So can I go?
Yes.
I was going to say, I think, I don't think it's for us to draw the line. I think the line was already drawn by Christ, you know? So I think the way it manifests is the biggest problems, at least in what I've been taught in church and the way I've read my Bible, that Christ had with the Pharisees is it was all for show. If you're here and I'm not tattooing because so that everyone can see I'm holy, same vibe. You know, same vibe. Like you might as well just get the tattoo. You know, because the only reason you're doing it is for sure that it has no standing in your reverence for God. It has no standing in your relationship with God. It's not a manifestation of your relationship with God or what God. It's a manifestation of how you want other people to see you. So I think that's where you draw the line. When it's becoming superficial, when you're doing it just so that everybody else can see that you are also holy, also Mimi straight line to heaven. Me, can you see me? Me and God best friends. I feel like that's the very thing Christ rebuked the Pharisees for.
Yeah.
Well,
What was the question again that I couldn't? What was the question?
The question was, have you, okay, so you've come across people who are like,
The Christian versus Jewish.
Culture.
where do you draw the line between the two?
So I feel like we need to understand the culture, the context rather, of what was said and why it was said in the Bible. For example, I think the example that we use is our dear friend Paul. Yeah.
my dear friend.
Yeah. Is it the one who was saying like women shouldn't be leaders in the church or
Should be silent.
yes.
That's what isn't the exact words? His exact words were, "I do not permit a woman to speak, to have authority over a man in the church, something along those lines."
If you have a question, ask your husband.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. It's like women don't have a brain of their own. But anywho, we shall deal with him when we get there. Yeah. Anyway. Get ready, Paul. Anyway, so I feel like you need.
What would be his context?
Let me say what the context was. Historically, in the place that the church that he was writing, because he was writing to specific churches, that specific church had issues with like women bulldozing their way through. Even I think in that same context, he said women should cover their heads. They were not being careful to worship the Lord. They'd go to church to like show off. It was about them. It was like a one-person show, a one-man show. So that was the problem. They were bulldozing. They were like imposing whatever they wanted. They didn't give like time for peace and deliberations and things like that. So Paul just said, women should not. It was a band-aid-ish fix for them. It was a quick fix because like when things are bad, sometimes you can't create a long-lasting solution. Like a long term, you need an immediate solution to your immediate problem. So it was his immediate solution to the problem, but it was just in the context of the church that he was writing.
Yeah.
So that essentially is where that passage came from. But now people went to inflate it. The same way they inflated the notion of slavery when they came to colonize Africa.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now I think that's where we need to get it right.
Sorry, even the Bible advocates for the rights of slaves.
Yeah.
The Bible says in the New Testament there is no longer man or slave.
Yeah.
It's something. There is no longer
Slave nor free.
Yeah, there's no longer slave nor free. Something along those lines. But there was now that Bible where they pulled all of those passages out, and they were like, you see, even God says you should be a slave.
Even in I believe it's in the Old Testament where there was a way you were supposed to treat
them.
slaves.
Yeah.
You couldn't just treat them anyhow.
We even learned it in theory.
Yes, you needed to like have them for 7 years and such and such.
Oh yeah, and then there was, I think there's also a part that says they should be part of the family. Something along those lines. They have to be part of the family and not.
And they're also allowed to go back home.
The slavery question is a scary one.
They go and they come back. I remember it in theory.
They were at least they had some sort of protection around them. Yeah.
Slavery bad.
Did you finish talking?
Sorry. So, So, I feel like in plain, simple sight, we're supposed to understand the context before using it against people, because I think that's where the contention comes in. Again, what was your question? Again, Christianity versus Jewish culture. Honestly, that's why I need to read Leviticus. I want to understand what was the context between the piercings and the...
I can give you the context. It was because at the time, the surrounding religions used tattooing as a form of worship. So, God was like, don't do that nonsense, please, for me. It's like the way, I like to think of it the way, this is a bad equivalence, but you see the way during Abraham's time, sacrificing your child was normal for the surrounding religions. So when Abraham agreed to sacrifice his child, it wasn't necessarily oh my God, you're going to kill your own baby. It was more like yes, you're going to worship your God because he wants. I was reading about this recently. The thing was, it wasn't that they were just like innate selfish people who hated their children. That wasn't the thing. The thing was, the highest form of worship was seen to give to your God the most important thing you have, which was your child. That was the highest form of worship. So when Abraham agrees to sacrifice Isaac, it's not a thing for him because he's seen it done. That's why God's saying, don't. This is not the type of worship I want. That's the main message of the story of Abraham and Isaac. It's not Abraham agreeing to sacrifice Isaac. I feel like sometimes the big highlight is on Abraham agreeing to sacrifice Isaac, but the main message is God saying, stop. This is not the type of worship I want. Abraham agreeing was not weird at the time. Yeah, it wasn't weird. See, all the other surrounding religions, and
Is it just it was painted to seem as though it is
it's painted by the way we were raised, because Abraham is a man of faith.
So, like, even in biblical context, it was painted to seem
in what
as though,
sense? I don't think it was painted to seem.
Because I've gotten something from that point.
It was painted to seem difficult because number one, it was the son he had been promised. Number two, he was old, so the likelihood of him having another son was very slim. So in that sense, it was painted to be difficult. I agree, it's not an easy thing to sacrifice your child. I don't think it's ever been an easy thing for anybody. But the choice of him agreeing to sacrifice, the act of him agreeing to sacrifice the child in of itself is not hard. What makes it hard is now the context of him not being able to have another child, and the promise of him having nations. You can't be the father of nations if you don't have a child. So that was the context that made it hard. But him himself saying, he thought, the way it was being explained was, he probably thought this would be now the thing that would open my blessings, because that is how worship had been done around him all his life. So God telling him, stop, like, thank you for being willing to worship me in the highest form possible, but this is not the type of worship I want. Thank you for not withholding from me your son, but this is not the type of worship I want. I think that's the major point of that. Ouch, that was so painful.
I'm sorry.
That was the major point of that story. Okay.
Can you say it's maybe a point?
Yeah, a point.
The story.
Okay, a point that is often overlooked, I think.
I got something from her with that story.
Why did I start telling that story?
For Jewish.
Oh, yes, we were talking about Hawaii. Tattooing is Nini. The context of tattooing in Leviticus. So I was drawing the parallel.
You were answering.
Yes, so I was drawing the parallel between God wanting to differentiate worship to him and worship to the other pagan gods. Sorry, I don't know. I could have just said that statement. My bad.
There's something she said that really stood out.
So is it? Oh, sorry, I'm finished. Okay.
There's something that really stood out for me with what she said. How in the other religions or for other faiths in that time, they thought that the highest form of sacrifice was sacrificing your child.
The highest form of worship.
Worship, yes. Yeah, the highest form of worship was sacrificing your child. And God sacrificed Jesus.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. Yeah, like for the form of love and for us.
Gosh, being Jesus is such a difficult
thing.
You're done.
Yeah, I'm done. I just needed to reflect on that.
I think now that you've said that, is it still not wrong to tattoo yourself? If God himself said, and we believe God is never changing, So if he himself said that he wants worship in his name to be differentiated, and a lot of people justify putting tattoos in the name of worship of God, so is it still not wrong?
Can I say something controversial? Do you think putting dreadlocks is wrong? It was a form of worship in some cultures. This is what happened in the New Testament. The reason why Paul told people not to eat meat was not because people are eating meat that was offered to idols. So now the problem is the Gentiles who had been converting into Christianity, they believed that they were worshipping those idols because they were eating the meat. But the Jews were eating the meat because they knew that meat being offered to idols had no water. You get, it held no water. Does that make sense? So, but now Paul said, okay, we don't want people to be led astray. So, if eating meat causes your brother to stumble, then don't eat meat. You get? So it was he just put that measure in because he realized that, yes, he was acknowledging, yes, the Jews are correct, ikukula nyama haina issue. Lakini, it's causing your brother to question Christianity and to question the faith and to question the gospel. So, and that's not what we want to do. We don't want to lead people astray. So it was clear that by the times of the New Testament, but by not times of the New Testament, when Jesus came, yes, he came to fulfill the law, but he came to bring a new law to us. Not a new law. He came to fulfill the law, but he came to bring the gospel and a new way of life to us. Because
explain to me how it was a new way.
Because
I get that we were going through the Father.
Yeah.
We would talk to the Father through him. And okay, I get that. But how else was it new?
Because let me give you an example. The Jewish religion, according to Yahweh, was following their doctrines. And the reason why they didn't accept other cultures is because they thought they were doing things that defiled the worshipping of their God. Yeah? But when Jesus died, he came to say, Sasa, these customs that you've been following, basically useless. Because what they think that they were doing is their practices are to make themselves right with God. But now, at the point where Jesus died, the only thing you have to do to make yourself right with God is to repent and believe. Sindio? So all these other things, all these other practices, basically don't hold water. Because at the point where tumefika, you accept and you believe. And that's why Gentiles were told, like some Jews were trying to go around like in Acts to tell the Gentiles, oh, you must be circumcised, oh, you must follow Jewish rites, and they're like, but that's not how us we are living. Then Paul came to say, they don't have to be circumcised. So they believe in Jesus. So they have baptism of the Holy Spirit. But so that's what fundamentally you need now for the worship of God. So that's why Jesus came to fulfill the law. He came to finish that work that people were doing all the time, to go to the temple and sacrifice and worship in this and that in that way, by becoming the last sacrifice, the last way of performative, in quotes, worship. So that then we can have an inner form of worship and devotion towards God, which is why all these things now don't matter. So if you have like dreadlocks on your hair, sorry for the people here, dreadlocks, I love you all. If you have dreadlocks on your hair, it doesn't matter, because God still recognizes that you're worshiping him. Kitambo in the Catholic Church, guitars were seen as devil worship, because guitars were popularized in like clubs and things in those medieval and Kitambo times. But when they were brought to the church, people used the same argument of eating meat. Eating meat was not necessarily a bad thing. It's just, it was, bless you, it was perceived differently. Bless you. It was perceived differently. So if you can change the perception of believers to see that this is inherently not a bad thing, then sure, go ahead and use it. Yeah.
The thing that keeps us from turning towards God is sin. But sin no longer has bondage on us because Christ has atoned for that sin. He has bled for that sin. He has died for that sin. So that now we can come before the Lord ourselves, come before him ourselves. So are these rules still relevant?
Null and void, or are they null and void now?
Now is the question.
Yeah, that is
Is the question.
Because Jesus himself said, as much as he came to fulfill the law, he did not come to abolish it.
Yeah, he's not abolished it. Or do you feel like it's been abolished?
Yeah,
Ama, you feel like
if we're not okay, like in the situation of the tattoo, based on the context you gave, you said that God did not to be worshipped through
The piercings,
and markings on the skin, on the body. God himself said that. Not
intermediary.
it wasn't. I mean, it didn't come from Paul to
Yeah,
it came from God directly.
well through the priest.
Let me say.
Sure.
Can I
So
just...
the problem is the problem not that they are tattooing.
It's not about tattooing, it's about distinction. So right now, the distinction that we have is through the transformation of our hearts and the renewal of our mind. So it's in our inner state of being. That is how we differentiate ourselves as Christians now. That's how Jesus is fulfilling the law. So the fundamental principle is the same. You and others different. How us and others are different has changed over time because the world has changed. You know, we are not living as the Jews were living. Jesus has come and the world has, and Jesus has come and Christianity has been defined with the same fundamental principles in different ways, somewhat. So now that's what we're saying. The thing is, we need a differentiator. So in the past, because they didn't have the Holy Spirit, then their differentiator needed to be outward. Because now we have the Holy Spirit living within us, our differentiator is inward. And what is inward will be also manifested outwardly. So with, for example, the way you speak, the way you treat others, the way you conduct yourself. Me having a tattoo and me not having a tattoo doesn't necessarily, let me not talk about tattoo. Me having my ears pierced and me not having my ears pierced doesn't differentiate me from an unbeliever. You get? What will differentiate me from the person, me and them have earrings, and them that an unbeliever, is how I conduct myself. People should be able to tell I'm a Christian before I go proclaiming it. Because before I start saying, but I'm a Christian. But now if my actions, if the contents of my heart are manifesting in me doing things that are otherwise counterproductive to my faith, then it's really not, I'm really not differentiated from the world. I'm not conforming to the patterns of this world that are not beneficial for my personal faith. It makes sense.
Yeah. You guys
Okay.
can I 2 hours.
Yeah, I think tunafaa tu tumalize hapa.
Yeah. Bye.
Anyway. Thank you for listening. This has been very long. Thank you. We are P3T Podcast. Follow us pale where? Instagram. Interact with us, engage with us. You can leave us comments on Spotify, so please tell us something, tell us what you think. Now you could go to our DMs, but there's no need. You can just tell us up on Spotify. In case you don't listen to us on Spotify, sure, go to our DMs. But whatever you choose. Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.